happens.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is GEEKCASTER. We're here live at FANFAIRE NYC. How you doing? I'm Michael, and today we have with us...
We have your co-host, Davion Bussey. Bring in the smoke.
And we have our guest...
GEEKCASTER, host of the podcast What a Time to Be Alive.
That is an awesome name.
I totally agree.
I live that name, Michael. There's a story behind it if you want to know.
Yes, let's start with the story.
Well, you know, it comes from the things that are now popular with everyone else. Comic book movies and superheroes have moved into the mainstream, and looking at it from the lens of somebody who was a huge comic collector, a comic fan, reader, artist, you know, wanting these things to be a reality when you were a kid, and now they're up there on the screen and being done with such creativity and such care. Every time something new comes out, I just basically said to myself, wow, what a time to be alive. And it kind of took form from there.
Wow.
So, since you was bringing up about your childhood and stuff like that, what was your favorite comic book?
Oh, God. X-Men.
X-Men?
Yeah.
Who was your favorite X-Men?
Ooh, it's not Wolverine. That's the popular answer.
That's a shocker.
Yeah. Actually, at the time, my favorite X-Man was, well, can it be a villain?
Yeah.
Magneto.
I agree.
Because he was a villain who had motivation and pathos. Everything we know about Magneto, like, the thing with the mutants is that, like, they were always persecuted, and, you know, what did the blurb say? Hated and feared by the world they sworn to protect.
Right.
So the X-Men, as a lot of people know, was an allegory for the civil rights movement.
Right.
You know, Professor X basically being his prototype was Martin Luther King, and Magneto's prototype being Malcolm X, by any means necessary. And when you delve deeper into Magneto's story, being a child of Auschwitz, you kind of sympathize with his motivation.
Okay. I never really looked at X-Men like that, but that's, now you gave me a new light into the whole X-Men franchise.
And it was interesting because if you pay attention to the script of the first live-action X-Men, for me it was clear. Like, watch it again, where they definitely was more about civil rights and civil rights, but it's kind of overshadowed with, you know, the whole World War II and, you know, what was going on there.
I believe it actually opened with Magneto as a child.
Right.
In Auschwitz. And they're at, like, the concentration camp. And he gets separated from his parents. And his parents are on the, you know, they're on the wrong line.
Right.
And he kind of reaches his hand out and uses his powers come to be. And he starts bending gates using his magnetism. And they set up his motivation for the villain or the mutant he becomes later on.
Script-wise and story-wise, would it have the same impact if they just straight up played off of just all the different things going on with race in this country? You think it would have come across the same way rather than starting out with where they start?
That's a great question. I think that's why the X-Men will always be relevant, because it's about, albeit veiled through mutant inequality, it's about race inequality and gender inequality, and those things. Listen, we have.
I hate to say they're timeless, but unfortunately
they are timeless, and that's what I was getting at. Like we've come a long way,
right,
Michael. But you know, we still have a long way to go, and as long as we're kind of not there, the X-Men will always be relevant.
Okay. So let's swerve away from the comic books for now, and let's get more information, know more about you and your organization. So you said you work for it.
Well, my day job?
No, your
okay, good, job. Because everybody knows podcasters have secret identities. So you're getting the podcaster. You're not getting the secret identity. So my podcast is called What a Time to Be Alive, and I'm GEEKCASTER, the host, and you know, as most podcasters do, I am the researcher, the scripter, the host, editor, you name it. My podcast is basically about geek culture, things that are most relevant today. The movies that we love, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, geek culture, comics, movies, games, but seeing it all through the lens of somebody who grew up with these properties when they weren't as popular. You know, as a kid, I can tell you, I got picked on for being into comics. Yeah,
We all did. Like I will say, like me growing up in high school, like going into high school, it was like I started to see the development of people getting into anime, getting into video games more often. Some people got more into WWE, which is wrestling, and it helped because I think everybody had fulfilled the identity, and it wasn't too much of a being a nerd or a geek. So, it's glad to see somebody, to basically express that in a podcast and on social media and stuff like that, so they can bring it to other people like me and a few others, so we can enjoy other people's opinion about certain other comic books and films and games and maybe wrestling or UFC at times, but all that other good stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the things that we love and that we broadcast about and that we share, it's fertile ground now. It's huge. I mean, guys, we win, and you guys happen to be broadcasting from Fanfare NYC in the middle of the High School of Art and Design.
Right.
I went to the High School of Art and Design, and that's where, I came in here and I was like, I'm home. I was the kid in my neighborhood who was always into comic books and always drew, and I was the guy who drew well. And then I came here and I was a small fish in a bigger pond, but a pond of people who got it well creatively, so well with each other. And it just it opened me up and it changed my life and it saved my life.
Okay. And when you say save your life, can you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, Rivington Hotel and Meatball restaurant. No. I grew up on the Lower East Side in the 80s, and the landscape of the Lower East Side and New York in general was much, much different. So it was gritty. There wasn't a lot for me to hold on to down there, and I was always into art. My two biggest influences growing up, Marvel Comics, Stan Lee, from the time I was 6 years old, and then Star Wars comes out, and that's the light switch, and it... Can you curse on here, or I'll keep it clean?
No, keep it clean.
Star Wars came out, and it blew me away. Woo-hoo! It's a light switch moment. I stood on my seat, and I'll never forget it. And I said,
"Yep,
I want to do that," and not truly knowing what that is. Flash forward to getting into the High School of Art and Design. It gave me chances in a path that I wouldn't normally have had in my neighborhood. No disrespect to the Lower East Side, because I love it. It's my heart, but I got my fighting chance, and I'm a professional creative, and that's kind of the American dream.
Wow. And speaking of Star Wars, have you seen The Mandalorian?
I have.
What's your favorite thing about The Mandalorian?
The fact that it's the spaghetti western of the Star Wars universe. It's unbelievable. And Baby Yoda. High five. There, we just blew out all the mics, by the way.
Sorry.
That's right. Sorry, Michael. We just blew you out, man. Baby Yoda. Even though we know he's not Yoda, the most compelling thing about it is that Yoda was supposed to be the last of his race. So Mandalorian takes place between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So his race did move forward. He's a big mystery. And he's adorable.
Yeah, he's play happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're selling toys. And you know what? And they've got me sold as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really awesome having a conversation with you. You basically opened my eyes about a lot of things. But also, since you talk about games, what was your pastime game that you used to play as a kid? Video game. Or, matter of fact, let's go pastime.
Pastime. Well, so I grew up in the 80s. Like, I lived the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And that's when video games and arcades were huge. And my game was Donkey Kong.
Wow.
Like, it's basically Mario Brothers Episode 1, okay? The prequel. So,
Wow.
Yeah, when Mario was just a plumber and there was no Luigi, before they fleshed out that story. I worked in a pizzeria and they had a Donkey Kong machine and I was hooked.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about current? What's your game? What's the game that you play currently?
You know what, man? I wish and I have a PS4 at home that I touch every 6 months. I'll tell you what, man. I've been playing the Spider-Man game on PS4, which is absolutely dynamite, man. But as far as like a game that I'm into right now, full disclosure, I don't game that much anymore. I'm sorry, I've let you down.
No,
You know?
because I'm in the same boat too. Because I feel as though after the Spider-Man game came out, there haven't been too much of anticipation of any exciting video games. Like, for instance, right now I will play Mortal Kombat 11, and that was something that came out last year. And then I took a break from it. Then Tekken 7 I will play that to death because I have certain characters I'll just use.
Yeah, it's like watching your favorite movie, man. It has massive replay volume.
Right.
Yeah.
And now in 2020, we found out there's a couple of new games coming out. Like, I'm waiting for Doom Eternal.
Oh.
Also, I'm waiting for another game called, they're making an Avengers game that's coming out.
I'm in. Assemble.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not to cut you off, but did you guys like get a little like misty when Captain America said "assemble" in Endgame?
Oh yes, I did.
Because I full out
did.
had ugly crying going on.
Because I was like, it was like either it was nerves or something was triggering me when that happened, and I was like, it was like that intensity, like you ready to join in the fight.
Validation. Everything I've ever been into, like that I read, up on the screen and done so well, man. It's just. So not to. I'm sorry. I had to sidebar. Yeah, don't cry. Because if you cry, I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
And then he's gonna cry.
I see the tear. I see the tear.
I just gotta have something in my eye. It must be the hot dogs that they're frying up over there. Continue. The Avengers game that's coming out this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole different. It's not based on the movie.
Okay.
It's just I think it's by Squaresoft. Not Squaresoft, but something. I forgot the name of the company.
So it's pure Marvel Comics canon.
Correct.
Okay. That's cool.
And also, I'm waiting for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, excellent.
So these are the three games I'm waiting, anticipating on. There are other games coming out this year, but I'm just anticipating those three.
I'm going to date myself here, but I did love Battlefront 2. Star Wars Battlefront. Okay. I mean, listen, man, I'm such a mark for anything Star Wars related, anything that expands that mythology. Again, what a time to be alive. We're living in a world where Kevin Smith said Star Wars is going to be currency long after we're gone. And it's not mine anymore. It's my kids, and it goes on. And I'm okay with that because there was a time where Star Wars was over and we didn't see it for a while.
Right.
So better to have than to have not.
Oh, shoot, because we got a couple of people over there on the other side doing Star Wars, but...
Yeah, I saw some stormtroopers walking around, and near the hot dogs, I told them these aren't the hot dogs you're looking for.
Did you do the mind wipe?
I did. I said, these aren't the hot dogs you're looking for. To which he said, these are the hot dogs I'm looking for. Yeah.
And it was like it wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
The force wasn't strong enough.
Yeah, I don't have that power.
Michael?
Well, since you mentioned power, what do you think about that whole, was it the Metachlorians in your blood?
Oh. Director of Cartoon Network. Abe Oddish revisits Futurama. So he's going to talk about his work on Futurama.
Sorry, because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, and we're live at FANFAIRE, so you're hearing all that.
I feel like I'm at JFK right now.
So remember how it was in the blood?
The director of Cartoon
If you're a Jedi, and then all of a sudden
Do I remember?
And then they got rid of it?
Star Wars Episode 1 is the heartbreak of my life. And I've been divorced. Midichlorians? So all right, let's talk for a bit about that, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Star Wars Episode 1, right? So what were the main driving forces in Star Wars Episode 1? Trade disputes? Not sexy. Nothing to hang on to. And blood test.
And a blood test.
A blood test that basically said Anakin's the chosen one. I mean, he's got the best, cleanest blood test out of anyone because he's high with midichlorians.
Right.
Yeah, so I was not a fan of that, obviously. Okay. Especially since it was the first Star Wars that we had seen in a while. I mean, what was this, 1996? I remember crowding around a computer, downloading that trailer for like 45 minutes because it was 1996. And, trailers' jobs are to subvert expectations. Great trailer. Not so great a film.
Yeah. So, I gotta ask just because you're.
I gotta answer.
Fan. Yeah.
Yeah, so, never was big on the midichlorians, and yeah, I mean, however, Well, I have a question for you, if I may ask.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Rise of Skywalker? Be honest now.
It was better than the last one. That's like, as a fan, that's the, at this point the bar kind of dipped.
Interesting.
How do you build up all this romance thing? In fact, we were talking about that with a lot of different properties, like Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, the Netflix series. A lot of different shows that keep forcing these romantic moments that don't necessarily have to happen to drive the story. How do you have this ultimate Sith that took 2 films to really build them up, because they didn't really do a good job with that? Then you have this, is it Luke's kid, like the books? Is it this one's kid? Okay, before we even get into that. And then you have a Sith that kills your teacher, both your teachers, both the people that basically took you on, that you look, as well as a mentor that you respect, and then kiss him at the end.
Guys, you're preaching to the choir.
I'm just saying. I'm just asking the questions.
I'm just answering the question. Please, go ahead.
Like, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? It had no continuity into that situation. Like, it was like, okay, first I thought they established Finn having the relationship, or trying to get a relationship with the girl. I forgot her name.
Ray.
Ray.
You should know it, because that's all he does during episode 9 is scream out Ray.
Exactly.
That's it.
And then with Ray, it was like, okay, I don't like you. I hate Kylo Ren. I hate him to the point where it's like, oh my God, I hate you. I will kill you. And then in this film, it's like, okay, at the very end, he turns out to be your love interest? Like,
Well, the excuse is that I hate this part of you, but I could love and I'm connected to this part of you. So that was the excuse, and I get it, but I'm not gonna buy into it.
I don't get it.
What do you think?
Hey, guys.
And when I explain this stuff, I try to keep it loose for the people that haven't seen it.
I've saw it.
Spoilers and stuff, but at this point, maybe, whatever.
As a podcaster, well, first of all, as a fan, I had to see it initially. As a
Yes, you have
podcaster,
to.
I've seen it twice.
Okay.
Actually, my most recent episode that dropped last week was dedicated to my thoughts on episode 9 and the prequel trilogy. It's the first time I went public about it.
Right.
I hated episode 9. Absolutely hated it. It was a tremendous letdown. It lacked continuity, and it reeked of nothing more than a studio trying to fix what they felt were mistakes from episode 8. Now, I'm in the minority of people that actually loved episode 8.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's got some dark tonality. I liked the fact that they went a bold direction. Of course, Luke would be reluctant to train a Jedi. I mean,
makes sense.
And it's the only film in Star Wars canon that actually calls out the prequel trilogy. He calls out the Jedi for being responsible through their own hubris for getting Palpatine, brought into power, and the Empire coming about.
Interesting.
The kiss I could have done without, because it just didn't add anything. It was gratuitous. It was gratuitous and pandery. It's like, oh, we have a male and female who are about the same age and close. They have to have some sort of romantic relationship, and I felt what they were building to was some sort of strong force connection, shared force connection. Because other than that, it's like kissing somebody out of a crowd. There was just no build up to it.
Yeah.
And plus, he was wearing a good guy sweater once he turned good. I don't know if you guys realize that.
Yeah.
He had the good guy sweater on.
And it's just, it's hard for me to explain, like, because I did see episode 8. I felt it was, like you said, it was really good. Mm-hmm. It was good. I just felt as though they should have kept Luke Skywalker alive a little bit longer till 9.
Yeah.
And then I think with 9, I think they were so much in a rush because of the death of Princess Leia. I forgot the lady.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. to the point where there's like, okay, we got to do something quick because we got to find a way to basically work around the death of Carrie Fisher.
I think the solution for that was a lot easier than what they actually did. I think they could have explained Leia's death off screen in a scroll or something like that, which would then push Poe Dameron into this like leadership by attrition position. You know, he's like wanted to be leader, and it's like, all right, well, it's you now. Let's see what you've got. Yeah. Episode 9 it's just a continuity mess. It's so scattered and such a letdown. And I say this because I'm not beating it up. I care about the franchise. It gave me a lot. People invest a lot in it. I feel as if the studio, their hands were too much in it, and they didn't let JJ do what he wanted to do. I feel like JJ Abrams' hands were tied on this one.
You don't think he might have been too caught up in some of the vloggers and stuff too? Because remember, Finn had a potential relationship or a crush from Rose.
Yes.
And online, a lot of people were stalking her and making terrible comments. Yeah. And this is something we've never seen.
Yeah.
Within the Star Wars fandom.
Toxic fandom.
Never.
Yeah.
That's to tell you that when things start blowing up,
yeah,
where it's no longer a geek thing or a nerd thing, because we just didn't have that in that universe. But
once again,
that relationship went nowhere.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, all of a sudden now she's not into him. They kind of, like you said, Finn kept saying Ray, and it's almost like, well, where did that relationship go? And then you had the gentleman that was the other lead, or he was like the general now.
Poe Dameron.
Yeah. It seemed like he had a crush on Ray, kind of, but not. And people even said that they were hints, if you watch it, now I got to watch it again, where he might have had a crush on Finn, but they threw that out of nowhere.
Whatever. Fine. I mean,
but then go with it.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, make a commitment.
Right.
And then it was like, all of a sudden, Ray and Finn didn't have a relationship. It was like, oh, thanks, buddy, for saving the day. Awesome. Yeah. But I'm gonna make out with.
with Kylo Ren.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Ben Solo, because he was good.
Because he was good now.
You know.
Wait, and there's one other thing before I forget.
Sure.
I don't want to run out of time either.
No.
When Han Solo came after death and spoke as if he was a Jedi, but someone explained this to me, he didn't have the Jedi glow. But to me, that's a cheat.
To quote Han Solo in The Force Awakens,
yep,
that's not how the Force works. No, I think that was more or less a Ben Solo's conscience speaking to him. I don't.
So someone said that, and I said that could make sense, but no one else had a conscience that.
I didn't love it. Here's the thing with Episode 9. Okay.
But see, this is the thing that didn't happen with even Anakin. He didn't speak to his parents, and he was strong. There's no other Jedi that spoke to any of his relatives.
Again, hence the continuity errors that we can list a mile high about Episode 9. And it's a shame because it was the end of the 9-film Skywalker saga. So I felt it was very rushed. I felt like the pacing was really bad, and there wasn't a lot of storytelling there. It wasn't an arc. It almost feels like its own standalone movie. It just... It went out of its way to undo everything that's been done in the past 2 films.
Now, hold that thought. From a producer standpoint, is that because they're doing 2 other trilogies? Allegedly, there's 2 other trilogies that have nothing to do with the Skywalkers in the works.
Could be, or it could be Disney Plus. Because you've had that whole interconnected thing going on, which their product is amazing, but I think they're looking, Lucasfilm and Disney, of course, is looking 20 steps down the road to see how they could tether fans and keep this going. I mean, nothing was more apparent than Lando saying to Hannah at the end of Episode 9, where are you from, kid? Let's find out. Where the hell did that come from?
Right.
Maybe you'll find out on Disney Plus.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Why, though?
Why?
They got us. Because they,
25 million subscribers, that's why.
and most of it, at least the people that I know, I can't say most of it, but for everyone I know that got super excited, is all because Mandalorian. This guy put me on to Mandalorian.
Love Mandalorian,
I love it too.
you know, Disney Plus. I mean, you look at it as a whole. Like you look at the original series that are coming out, Mandalorian. There's all the Marvel stuff, which they dropped a spot during the Super Bowl, which gave me chills. All the Marvel stuff that's coming out that's interconnected with the MCU, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi's getting a series with Ewan McGregor,
Right.
reprising Obi-Wan Kenobi
But on Disney Plus.
on Disney Plus.
Isn't it good? Isn't it good to have Disney Plus at this moment?
Thank you, Mr. Bushy. But you can't say that on the air, what that means. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay.
But I would say there's also another rumor that Samuel Jackson is being courted to come back as Mace Windu. If that happens, that's going to be crazy, whether it's Disney Plus or films. But I kind of hope it's a film. There's a magic with Samuel Jackson doing Mace Windu, if it's done right, that I don't see them capturing as a series.
Sam Jackson, first of all, is magical in everything he touches.
Right.
When he signed on to play Mace Windu, he had two directives for George Lucas. He's like, I want my lightsaber to be purple, and I don't want to go out like no bleep.
Right.
Because it's a PG show.
Right,
But I think you get it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, fertile ground, I guess the door's open for everything. I mean,
Right.
you know, rumor. I mean, we get into news and fake news. Who knows? I mean,
Well, let's get into more fake news.
shoot.
Your friend, one of your idols, they're thinking about putting him into the like, what is it? The Order of the Republic. If they go that route with like the beginning of the Jedis and the Sith, they might try to explore
Knights
that.
of the Old Republic?
Yeah, with Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
You know, we're enjoying a Keanu-sans right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never been more popular. The guy's in his 50s.
I have to say, this has been a couple of years. This has been Keanu's year. Like, you got the John Wick, and then next year, 2021, he's going to be facing himself in the box office.
And do what?
John Wick 4 versus Matrix 4.
It's happening.
Also, Bill and Ted 3, which is, I believe they just finished shooting it.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah. So they're returning to that franchise as well. You get chills right now? I did. I don't know.
Okay. Now we've had this. I like Keanu.
I
like him a lot.
I feel a butt coming.
No. There's no but. I think it's arguable for me that Bill and Ted, and what's that film he did where he gets kidnapped?
I forgot the name of
It's like a Canadian film. It's not too long ago.
Ronan, the one where he's the samurai?
No. There was one where, there's a film. It's like a drama, but basically, happy family, wife, kids, and then
By the two girls?
yeah,
Oh, I saw that on HBO one night.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
that film and Bill and Ted to me are the best acting that he's ever done. Which is kind of weird as a fan because but all the action, yeah. Matrix is amazing. Yes. Well, all the other ones amazing, but those two films. And you've seen it. What do you think of his acting in that
You know,
one?
first of all, I forget the name of it, but it was like one of those. I was up at 2:00 in the morning, it came on
Yeah.
HBO, and I thought it was really intense and a little taboo. I thought he was great in it because the subject material was that his wife and kids were out of town, and these two stranded young, possibly underage young ladies are stranded and asked to use his phone, and
Things happen.
it follows a path that is unethical.
Right.
You know, and they
Tried to do the right thing in the film.
Yeah,
But it
well,
was-
he did the wrong thing first, but you know,
Right.
and it was one of those things where like it caught up with him because he got more than what he bargained for because these two girls were predators, and they victimized him throughout
Right.
the whole film. His acting was amazing.
But we're gonna, you know what? We're gonna cut here because this is for cable, but we're gonna keep going. So you're watching GeekCasters. This is part 1. Let's just keep it going. You down for it? Alrighty, we're here live at FANFAIRE.